Chapter 94. Raven's well-sculpted eye twitched seeing the white-haired girl moaning as the shadows she used to carry her across the room only touched just above the girl's knees and across her back. Not exactly erogenous zones typically, but with the way the insipid girl was moaning and blushing it made her sound like she was molesting the girl's private areas with those magical constructs. No. Not there. Don't make my stomach bulge with the giant tentacles. Ilya screamed and Raven's eyes went dull as she died a little on the inside as she recalled how the demons used to whisper about her magical constructs being used to hold people down and break them down from the inside. She never understood what they were talking about before, but now she could literally taste the lust Jake's stupid new pet was pouring, filling the room with, leaving little to the imagination with her delusions. Quiet girl, Raven growled, blushing, and had the shadow constructs tighten their grip on Ilya to try to shut her up. But Ilya just coughed out, "Be gentle, mistress, or do you want to be called mommy?" A loud clapping noise rang as Raven lost her head for a second and actually spanked Ilya across the ass as the blushing red half-demon shouted at the homunculus. No, she had to be a succubus as nothing else was so damned lewd. "I said be quiet or I will kick you out of the castle." Raven threatened, but it was an empty threat, at least to her, as she knew Jake could literally just throw up another castle just for the stupid girl to, as he said, troll her. Ilya opened her mouth, but she then felt a glare land her from across the room. As she glanced over there, she saw her mother Azazyel send a glare at her, and as much as she wanted to snark and cause drama, she wasn't sure how to feel about her mama reuniting with her after living her life for a decade alone and practically growing up. "Now keep silent and don't move. I am going to check how these seals are holding up your body as well as any issues you may have with your soul after coming from whatever world you have." Raven explained as she could easily see Ilya's magical pathways and body were completely different from the humans or even magi she had examined before. "No shadow tentacles?" Ilya teased, but Raven only rolled her eyes, having long since become inured and immune to Galatia's perverted prodding, and this girl didn't know of any of her buttons, so her words only slid past her mind like water under a bridge. "No. If you want to be sexually bullied, Jake can do that with his magical hair stuff, or likewise Galatia will tie you to a chair so she can sit on your face for a couple of hours while she watches her terrible soap operas, and Jake will come to use your lower half when he gets bored," Raven said blandly, and Ilya gulped, quivering a bit on Raven's bed at the thought. "Yup, this girl is a masochist or something," Raven thought dryly as she examined her body in great detail, from how weird magical pathways that acted like a secondary nervous system in her body that was made out of the same materials as her soul, to the divine seals made from Hera's authority that bound the women into a sort of handmaiden. But why would Hera make these girls into handmaidens and then sell them? And beyond that, isn't it weird how in that same auction there were also golden apple tree cuttings? Because normally Hera's golden apples were sometimes seen as her divine symbol, she treasured the things beyond all else, and even if the Greeks issued a quest to a demigod to retrieve the apple, the demigods weren't allowed to eat them or anything. No one other than Hera and Zeus was allowed to partake of the Greek immortal apples of myth. As far as Raven could see, Ilya was in basically perfectly fine condition except for some extremely dense natural earth life force or mana sticking to her soul a bit that was reinforced into place by the seals by Hera. "You seem to be in optimal condition. Just lay off the snacks as your metabolism is slowing down and thus you will get extremely fat if you continue." Raven gave her diagnosis dryly with not a hint of sarcasm or anything in her voice as she got back at this foolish girl for her early embarrassment and harassment. "But I am a homunculus. I can't get fat. We literally were made for that to be impossible and for the excess fat to be burnt away as magical energy." Ilya denied frantically, but Raven just shook her head as she poked the womb tattoo, making Ilya twitch as purple lightning sparked. "Nope. Now get out of here so I can check your mother, as she isn't going to be as simple," Raven ordered, and smiled as Astrid helped her shadows swallow Ilya whole and teleport her across the castle, leaving her alone with Azazyel, and now alone with the woman. Her demonic power tinged with Jake's essence flooded the room, covering it in a pitch black with hints of Jake's purple energy completely covered the walls, isolating it from the senses of the people within the castle except for Jake, who sent a pulse of energy to her in question to her actions, but Raven shook it off as she focused on the motherly woman in front of her. Raven then, like Ilya, pulled Azazyel closer, but the older woman didn't react much at all except for some minutes shifting to get into a more comfortable position as Raven's magical constructs held her tightly as she spoke slowly and using her full empathic abilities to try to read the broken woman in front of her. "I don't even need to look into your soul to see your broken psyche. What are your intentions for Jake Barris, the father of the child that resides in my womb?" Raven said as her magical constructs minutely tightened, and then Raven's magical constructs dissipated into nothingness. No, Azazyel seemingly absorbed it into her body as she stood up with her spine cracking loudly. Azazyel's once pristine made outfit burnt away with a foul eldritch or demonic mana, creating a new outfit that was a sort of silk shift that covered her arms in long sleeves the color of night and a bloody red moon, along with her chest being barred except for some slips of the shift strategically covering her chest, leaving her neck to her womb bare to sight. Most importantly, a large black and red pope-like crown atop her head adorned with a black hole in the middle that absorbed all the mana in the room, unveiling the room to Jake's realm. Jake is my savior. He doesn't know but his power. The moment his hands laid upon my head like the true God, he shattered the lesser evil god within me that tortured me for more than a decade like an ant without even noticing. Azazyel spoke with hysterical devotion in her voice, and Raven gulped, seeing the pure fanaticism within her voice. Not even Brother Blood, her father's most pious devotee, had that same fanaticism that was in her voice. What are my intentions for my God? Nothing at all. He has sworn to accept my service in return for not sending me back to my home world where I would face the same endless torment that never ended. I will give anything for him, and nothing will dissuade my service for him. Azazyel said with her mania calming down as she smiled down at Raven. Because although in this form, I may be a devil or Satan wholly willing to be his bitch and blood-stained weapon. Then Azazyel's form was coated in a divine holy light as her form was almost completely changed. Although it was the same style dress, it changed to a regal and holy white and golden dress. But whereas her previous form wasn't different from feeling almost like Trigon or a genius loci of curses, this new form actually stung her eyes and skin just being around the pure holy light that radiated from her form, and especially the ball of divine gold light at the center of her crown. But in this form, I exemplify my devotion to him as his priestess. For what else other than a god could kill another merely by placing their hands upon my brow and even create his own worldly realm? Azazyel nearly shouted, and Raven threw her hands up in defeat. Fine, go be crazy on Jake. I can't deal with you. Raven said, literally sending the Morse code of "fuck you" to Jake through pulses of her power, and then pushed the mindlessly mumbling Azazyel, who was still clad in her holy form, outside of her room using a lamp, so she didn't hurt her hands touching the walking holy symbol.